Brownbird here with a commentary / rant. I'm going to call this the Kingsbridge Council. And the reason I want to make this video today is because I just find it completely hilarious the so-called black woman has not at all recognized her destruction, and that she is the agent of chaos, as a brother that I'll watch on YouTube would usually say. Now, this morning, I'm going to be responding to a couple of things that happened ever since the incident that happened with the brother by the name of Kelley from his restaurant in Dallas, where there's been a complaint about women twerking, mainly so-called black women twerking inside the establishment. Now, of course, I would have figured that it's going to come with a lot of backlash. A lot of people was going to look for cherry picking points to make it seem as if like the so-called black man, Kelley, is at fault for what he said and what he did. Now, the thing about it is that along the way, before I came on YouTube and I made this YouTube page, oftentimes I've expressed my opinion within the manosphere panels to give my perspective on what I think the so-called black woman is about. Now, certain people may misconstrue it as me being a misogynist. I don't think that I am a misogynist. I think that I like to attack things on the head when it happens. Just like I have no problem attacking men, specifically so-called black men who say nonsense out their mouth and they make these outrageous claims about things they don't know what they're talking about. Or they do know what they're talking about. They want to sound all pro-blackity black and smart and collegiate and all these different things. I'm all about hitting things on the head and exposing the truth. So, recent news, there's been that brother Kelley that went on a couple of interviews such as TMZ and the Smiley Show, Ricky Smiley Show, and it's a couple of interviews he did to state his opinion and state what exactly happened in the restaurant. And I find it that before, when I was having a personal conversation with someone, he was only talking about one girl. That's what they told me. But further looking into the videos, it has come to find out that it has been more than one woman that was addressed about twerking inside the restaurant. Now, this is the thing. The reason why I'm going to name this, I'm going to give it even more titles, more words to the title, is because this is a pivotal moment within our history where the so-called black man has to notice what is going on in his so-called community, if he's still a pro-blackity black, part of the black community, care for black people, whatever have you. That this is a pivotal moment where you choose your side as a so-called black man if you're going to continuously fight for so-called black women who acts upon the things that they don't like, okay? And you have other so-called black men who just don't care. Now, I am not advocating for so-called black men to say disrespectful things about so-called black women to the point that it's just like things like black women are disgusting bitches, black women are not worthy, black women this and black women is that. I don't tolerate those things, right? Now, if a guy chooses to say that, that's his opinion, that's cool, that's what he chooses to do. But again, this would be a real pivotal moment for brothers to understand, what are you fighting for? If the so-called black woman is so protective of her image, then she would make a point to call out these other so-called black women for what they did in the restaurant. A lot of these so-called black women got on the internet and, you know, they had these affiliates with the so-called black woman that wanted to write bad Yelp reviews on his restaurant, try to put him out of business and say, oh, this is what happens when you sort of support a black man's business. You still get treated like shit, and all these other words, yada, yada, and yada. All these weak-ass beta points that these people like to use to make it seem as if he's the enemy for saying what he said. Now, this is the thing. To you slow Negroes out there, because you don't seem to get it. How many times should someone have to tell you to stop doing something over and over again? When a so-called black woman in that restaurant, and in many examples, have made herself look like a child. You're a grown-ass child. No one has to tell you over and over again to stop doing something because it's not appropriate for that establishment. And there's a lot of brothers, specifically, who might have been in a quote-unquote manosphere that made the analogy to say that this wouldn't take part in an Asian restaurant, in a white-owned restaurant, Italian, Greek, and all these other nations. But when it comes to a so-called black restaurant, you're so keen on trying to diminish this man's integrity that you don't even see what's the wrong in what you did, right? And it wouldn't happen in other nations' restaurants because, again, the so-called black woman is narcissistic by nature, it seems, in this society. And when it comes to other nations, they do not tolerate it because they have a backing of culture. The so-called black man who stands to be the pro-blackity black hides behind Black Lives Matter, or he's one of those brothers out there that's collegiate and talk all that woman is God nonsense. They're the ones that are ruining it for the community. And I have no problem sitting up there making sure I make you understand exactly what's going on when I make these speeches, because the so-called black woman has not understood her position yet. And the so-called black man, for the most part, hasn't understood his position yet. But the paradigm is shifting. And I would like to say that I am laughing behind all of these allegations, all of these dumbass people out here who's making these things to say that the so-called black man, such as Kevin Kelley, was in the wrong, and that black business this and black business that. But again, this shows you the true hand of the so-called black woman. And until the North American Negro starts to get it, the North American Negro woman starts to get it, you're going to continuously have these situations. And brothers, you just have to understand exactly what you're dealing with. Or any other nation that decides to see the true nature of you want to fight for the so-called black woman, the North American Negro woman, this is the stuff that you have to partake in. That by ideal, she is making herself the ratchet person. She is making herself look like the unpresentable, confused, and hypersexual person. Nobody else is doing that. She is sitting up there saying that because of the music that's put on, why is she under scope because she decides to dance to that music? Oh, it's his fault for putting on that music. And it's like, if there was music out there in the same restaurant, right? What if it was a song that was talking, and on the men's side, what if it was a song that was talking about sag your pants and start shooting up the club? What if these dudes, and I mean this is extreme, yes. What if these dudes started sitting up there waving their guns in the air, or started making gun sounds, or, trying to pretend like they're shooting a gun with their hand? It would be very inappropriate and people would feel uncomfortable. Again, the North American Negro woman seems not to get it, seems not to care, and she wants to blame everybody else and still diminish the so-called black man's integrity, who's strong enough to stand on his masculine square and let the black woman know this is not what we do in this establishment. So therefore, brothers, which side are you taking? Now, certain brothers may say, are you red pill? Are you blue pill? I don't go with that. I go with the idea of the spirituality scope. So I definitely do talk about the idea of the paradigm shifting. And with this paradigm shifting, it's starting to reveal a lot of the actions that was under scope before. And this is a future video that I'm going to do to give an analysis to why I think the paradigm has shifted for the last 7 to 8 years. Otherwise than that, I'm going to be coming out with more videos. Thank you to my first 10 subscribers. I appreciate it. I'm on the road to get some more. But please make sure that you like and subscribe to this video. Peace.